What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Lonely Wrist. Today, super excited for this one. We've been going back and forth for a really long time. Thankfully, finally gracing us with his presence, we have Mr. Jose Miranda from Isotope.
Uh, Hi,
I'm sh- I'm
hello.
sure I'm sure some of you guys know Isotope for some of their creative designs. The We'll Be Back time. I don't remember the name of it, but it's the We'll Be
The
Back
will
soon.
return.
Will
Yeah,
return soon. Watch is a cool one.
the
I'm a huge fan of the Hydrum Pro. Um, welcome, Jose. Thank you for coming on. I'm glad to have you
no,
here.
thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. Let's go.
Uh, we had a first question of what watch are you wearing today? Maybe we should save
Okay,
that one for later, based on
okay.
what we talked about. But tell us about the foundation of Isotope. Tell us how you got started, and tell us how you landed to where you are today.
Yeah, okay. So uh, I collect watches since I was 10 years old. So uh, you know, everything came naturally. So I started collecting watches, and I work in the film and advertising industry for many, many years. And in the pandemic, well, in 2016 or in 2018, no, sorry, 2014, I wanted to buy another watch. I wanted to buy another jumping hour from Gerald Gente. And some guy asked me, huge a fortune for the watch. And my wife told me, don't buy that one. It's too expensive. Why don't you make your own jumping hour? So I did. So it took me about 2 years to understand what I had to do to create my own brand in terms of design, in terms of creating the company, in terms of establishing something that could be the foundation of a new brand. And when I when I started designing, it was with a designer that is not working with us anymore, which is sad. But we opted to make a very difficult watch, the jumping hour. It was just one off, just something simple. Um, but then some guy from Dubai saw the watch and he asked 10 more, and so we did a plan and we did 99. And from there, in 2016, from there, the company started making sense. And then someone asked us for a diver watch, so we did the good to do, and here we are. We are already designing our 11th watch, which is quite um, um, scary sometimes because we
Yeah.
have we are not making what most companies do. So they create one case, and from that case they extrapolate different designs. We have jumping hours, we have divers. We will have two divers very soon. We'll have another jumping hour. We'll have a 36 millimeter watch, a smaller watch. We'll have a rectangular watch, which is
Oh.
our craziest design ever. And what we try to do with all this, and the principle of the company is it's isotope, so it's uh, atoms with different characteristics from the other ones. So we make what the other guys are doing, but we do it differently, or at least we try to. And uh, that is the idea, is to make it affordable. To make jumping hours and to make chronographs and to make all the crazy stuff we are trying to make, but affordable at the same time. And for that, we found an amazing partner in terms of movements, which is Swiss Landeron. and they have been helping us in terms of developing the models and the movements that we require
Nice.
for what we do. And it's not an in-house approach, but it's a bespoke and proprietary in some cases that they just do it for us, which is good.
I,
That's
I I think it's scary when micro brands, and there's very few of them out there, that start developing their in-house calibers and stuff like this, because nobody knows what's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
There's great.
at the moment, most movements, it's very simple to make an in-house movement. It's quite simple. That's why everybody's doing it
Yeah,
because uh, they all make the parts in the same place. They all, and the base of the movements are two or three, and then the small changes they make. It makes a totally different movement. Okay, so it's not that complicated. You just need the space. You need good watchmakers. But to make an in-house movement, it's basically what we are doing with the partnership we had with Landeron. But it's not in our house, so it's not an in-house movement. But
understood.
if we can buy the parts, we can make the parts, and we can buy them, we can make them, and then we can assemble them in-house if necessary. But it's another step. It's not for now. And I think I really don't think. Well, it's important for some companies, obviously, for your independence. It will be important to have that. But the way the relation we have with them, so it's good. So I'm happy with the situation at the moment.
very good. I love that you guys, watches are always pushing the envelope. They're very different from the rest of the crowd, which is what originally kind of brought me onto you guys. Is it's something that I saw and I was like, wow, that's completely different. They're kind of blazing their own path. But Jose, I would ask you, which watch resonates the most with the most amount of people? Which model that you guys sell?
The Idrium. So it's the
Mhm.
diver. So I think that it resonates more. Uh, no, okay, so the principle we took 3 years to develop that watch case
Okay.
because I wanted inspired in the 60s and in the 40s, and but we have a round water drop shape approach to our design, so it's very streamlined, but we try to get a little bit away from the deco, and which makes the design a bit more fluid. And that's what our cases try to transport in terms of design. It's fluidity. It's a way of making it comfortable, not only on the wrist but to the side as well. And when you see the elements, you will probably find some elements from cases from the 1930s and 40s and 70s. Um, uh, and that's uh, what makes them somehow very original, but it's comfortable for you to look at them because there
Right.
are elements that you recognize and they don't look too strange. Because we can do, in terms of design, we have an approach. We get it too mad. We go really, really mad at a certain point to our designs, but then we try to remove. What if? Let's clean this as much as possible. And as soon as it's clean, as soon as it's I wouldn't say minimalist, but as soon as it's very simple, then we had the what ifs again. Um, what if we, for example, in the kind in the Idrium, it is very difficult to make a diver that everybody loves, which is the case because from in the beginning we had some critics obviously, but now everybody's happy with what they see, and it's very difficult to make a diver without looking something that already exists, and it's very complicated as you know. So the idea was to try to make um, a case that could transport quality and highly resistant to the cold because of our connection with Johanna Nordblad, but also very resistant because we aspire to have a very strong tool watch that can resist or withstand basically everything, which is something that we don't advertise because I don't want people to start smashing it with a hammer or going with a car over it or something like that.
Not
But
intentionally.
at least intentionally, exactly. But it's very resistant. It's very durable. It's the quality. The first time that you receive an Idrium and you start wearing it, you feel the weight. You feel okay. So this is not something for kids. It might look some of the designs like the exit, like the wheel return. Um, they might look like a toy, but they are not a toy. They are really serious watch. And what we try to make with those is that it's to make them playful. Okay, so 3 years ago when we introduced the wheel return, um, it was inspired in popular design. It was inspired in something that most Northern Americans grew up with, and they recognized the sign and the colors immediately. And that is why probably we sell our best market is in the US because people start really looking at us in a different way. And online, the watch looks like a very playful approach because it's a white dial with full doom, with a blue bezel and the red dot, and but it's a reproduction from the wheel return door sign when people used to mark the hour. I will return at 10 a.m. or 9
Right.
a.m. or whatever.
Yeah.
And so from there, I was not expecting such a, um, a good reception to that watch, and we only make 100, which is sad because 2 years later, I still have people asking to make that
Asking
watch
about
again.
it. Yep. Yeah, it's
So
such a unique colorway.
it's
I
incredible. Yeah,
personally love watches whenever they're very legible. That's one of the big reasons why I purchase a watch is because I want to be able to glance at my wrist and to be able to read it immediately. And I think one of the easiest ways to do that is kind of how you guys did it. You approach it with a fairly minimal dial. You've got your bold numerals. You've got these
yeah,
clashing colors, and it's a really good combination all put together that makes for an extremely legible watch. And then, like you said, not only that, but maybe some people think of it as toyish, but I think of it as you're giving your wrist a personality.
It's a novelty.
It's
yeah.
exactly right. Yep.
You
That's
it seems
that's what we try. So that's what we try. For example, there is so that one was inspired because I bought that sign 20 something years ago in New York. I didn't know I was going to have a watch brand back then. I had
right.
no idea. And when I was in New York a few years ago again, I saw the red, the same door sign, but in red. So what we are going to do next is to do a version of the wheel return in red for the
Ooh.
wrist. And the way that we are going to offer again the wheel return, the original one, instead of calling it wheel return, it will be called wall return because it's going to be a clock for the wall.
It,
Okay,
it's
so
That's cool.
it's
it will
really
come. So the red one will come for the wrist, and the blue one, the original one, will come for the wall. That's the way we can do without inflicting pain to the collectors that bought
for
the
sure.
initial 100. We can't do more,
It
unfortunately.
it seems like a lot of what you do is it seems like everything you do first of all is limited edition, so you don't go crazy with the production numbers like some brands. And something that I noticed a lot of other brands struggle with, which you don't seem to, is a lot of these brands, every single brand makes a novelty, right? They make some type of limited edition novelty piece, whatever. But where these other brands kind of fall short is a lot of them aren't wearable because they're so far out there in terms of design, aesthetic. You just can't wear them very frequently. And
Yeah,
then something that I've
yeah,
noticed too that really attracted me to the brand, and to reach out, feel compelled to annoy you till you came on,
uh,
um, is is the fact that you have something that a lot of brands cannot reproduce because you have an instantly recognizable watch because of the shape of the case for one, and then you're not taking it too seriously. Like you're having fun, you're
yeah.
having playful moments with the watches and the design. Um, and something that I absolutely love is the second hand. You have a lot of fun with the second hand, especially on
In
the
which,
Wilder
yeah,
turn and the Nordplaid, which is one of my favorites. And um,
yeah,
so bravo.
no, it's important because there are so many serious watches out there that for us to make a difference, we need to show a few uh, different colors. We need to show a few different designs. It doesn't mean that they sell very well, but at least they make the first page, and that's what uh, sometimes we need in terms of press is to make them aware of what we do. And to do that, either we do very complicated stuff in terms of um, watchmaking, or we do very playful approaches and hope for the best, hope that people really understand the message. And that's what we try to make because this is a private company. We don't have external investors. We don't have so it's our own resources, and so we need to go very slowly, not only in terms of developing, but in the models that we produce, but in terms of advertising, in terms of reaching other markets, etc. So it's a slow process, and this slow process that well, it's apparently a slow process, but in yeah, in the background, it's madness. It's madness
It
because at the moment we have 20 something watches being developed at the same time. We have four new cases being
wow.
tested in terms of in prototype. Uh, and to develop one case, it takes 3 years. So we are already preparing what's coming in the next few years, like the one I'm wearing today. If you want to get there, we can talk about it now.
Yeah, go ahead.
But it's yeah. So this is the chronograph. It's the
This
Moonshot.
this is the future of Isotope, guys. You're seeing it here.
Yeah. So this is the future. So this is the reflection is terrible. Oh my God. Sorry. So it's better now. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Almost
it
there.
looks fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
That looks great.
So yeah. So the case is titanium 5. We have a coating gun gun color. to make it more aggressive. These are the pushers. The
I
pushers are
love
black.
the pushers where they're your isotope little logo.
Yeah, the logo is present in a few places
Yeah,
as well.
nice.
But the really crazy thing about this is that on the dial we covered the numbers on the subdials. So we
Little
have discs
plates.
that rotate, and you only see what is necessary to see, and
Yeah.
that is what makes it so cool. And if when we activate this, we are not going to stay here 2 hours, but then the disc will start to move, and that's what it's cool. Um, this watch, it's also has a
What's
Landeron on it,
what's the
Landeron
caliber?
74. It's Landeron
Oh, okay.
74.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's fine. And it's an automatic inspired in a Valjoux 7750. It's basically the same construction. I'm not sure if the parts are intermutable, but I don't think so.
How many
Um,
um how many are you guys going to produce, and when can
yeah, so
people
that's the
expect
funny
to?
thing because this one, oh, it will also come with the titanium bracelets and these rubber straps specific for the watch.
Nice.
So what happened with this one, and that's very cool. I was having a Zoom call with Waco from Revolution
Hmm.
watch, and um, I showed him. We were talking about a few things, and I showed him two designs. One, it's the Mercury, which no one has ever seen it before. Only we at Isotope and them. The Mercury, it's done. It's going to be our first dress watch. Uh,
Very cool.
we don't have any polished watches at the moment. It's only sandblasted or brushed. I don't really like shiny
Yeah.
uh, things.
Doesn't make sense
But
for a tool watch.
the dress watch, it's called Mercury, as in liquid metal. Uh, so it had to be polished. And so we made some really crazy things about the case because it's a cushion case. But the moment you start designing a cushion case, you immediately are compared with the Panerai, period. There is no way to escape unless
Right.
you redesign completely the structure of a cushion case, including the lugs. So we designed one that is slightly convex with a dial that is also slightly convex, with hands that are also slightly convex, and the case back is concave, so it fits better on
It
the
grips
wrist.
to your wrist.
And well, I was showing it to Wei, and they said, if you do a mirror dial for that one, we will release it together. I said, oh, okay, let's do it. Then I like the idea. It's a good investment. Let's go for it. The problem is that the dial is convex,
Yeah.
and it's very easy to make a flat um, mirror dial. It is stupidly difficult to make a convex mirror dial, and I didn't know that back then. So it took us 6 months to find a way to make a dial that it's a mirror dial, keeping the convex way.
Wow.
And yes, and I will not tell anyone how we do that. If someone wants to make them, they will need to go through the process.
Don't call Jose for that one, guys. Sorry,
What I can
Way.
tell, no, what I can tell is that I asked four of the major um, uh, Swiss companies that make dials, and all of them told me it's impossible. You cannot do that. We did it. done.
Jose
But it
said,
took,
"Hold my beer."
yeah, basically. No, it's very difficult, and I'm sure that someone that will then buy the watch will open the watch to try to understand how the dial is made, and then they will understand probably. But that is, for example, something that we try to make. So the Mercury, it's inspired in liquid metal. I don't have nothing here to show you guys. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Um, um, it's inspired in liquid metal. It's inspired in the god Mercury, and it's also inspired on the streamline, the New Yorker Mercury, the streamline train that used to connect New York to
It,
somewhere else. I don't
it
recall.
it's going to be I'm assuming it's a collaboration with Revolution, and it's going to be
Yes,
something that they sell on their website. Is that
yes. So we are only making, yes. So they will have 100 in their website. I will have 50 on our website. So we are only making 150 of those,
got it?
which is interesting because I'm sure that no, I was with the watch. I have the watch, one of them with me, and I am so sad that we only made 150 of those. I'm really sad. We'll have more, but with different dials. But that one with the mirror dial, it's I'm a suspect, obviously, but it's one of the most beautiful dress watches I've ever seen. It's really, really
What
different
when
from
sh-
everything else. It's incredible.
when will that go live? Like when will the rest of the world be able to see that?
Yeah, so we were going to release it in January this month, but they have other agreements with other companies. So we are postponing it probably to March, April, May.
Mm.
It depends. So we are. It will be before summer for sure because
It's a,
it's ready to ship. It's ready to go.
it's a shame they pushed it
Um,
back.
Yeah.
yeah, no, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah,
And with the washes and wonders that it's coming um, very soon, it's going to be very crowded. So we need to
yeah.
understand exactly when to release it. And in that same meeting, so I showed
Chronograph.
this one,
Yeah.
not this one specifically, but another one, another chronograph similar to this one. And he also told me make a stealth version of that one, and I will make another collaboration with you. So this one, I took it to a few watches events, including New York one-on-ones, and everybody that saw it, the expression is wow. Everybody loves it, and once you wear it, I promise you, you can take it off your wrist because it's so comfortable. It's the right proportions, the touch, the titanium case, the weight, the legibility. It's everything here.
What's
This
the
is my dream chronograph, and that's
is
why
it a
it's called
40?
Moonshot. Sorry,
What's the case diameter? 40?
it's 41,
Okay. I know
but
you tend to trend around the 40s
yes, because it's the most common
for sure.
size for everybody.
For sure.
So,
100%.
but the madness here is that the the metal the titanium bracelet or the rubber bracelet, they fall like
It just
this.
goes straight
So
down. Yeah.
yeah, so this is 47 millimeters if I'm not wrong, and this will fit like a 40 or like a 42 depending on the way you want to wear it.
What's
Uh,
the what's the thickness? It looks a little like 15, 16 millimeters.
it's 14.9. I wanted it
Okay.
under 15, but it's like a drop style
Yeah, the lugs
case.
aren't too
So
long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and this bit will get into your wrist, so it looks thinner. But in
And
2 years, we will have a manual one as well, and the manual will be 13 or
much
12
thinner.
point
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
Anything
but
under
for now
15,
it's
I'm good with.
yeah. No, this is 14.9,
Yeah.
so we are safe.
Right there.
So
Yeah,
so
but
I was gonna say, so what? Sorry to interrupt you. Keep
no,
on.
no, no. But I was saying that this is almost 15 because there is no. We need the space for the movement.
Yeah,
Period.
of course.
There is
Yeah.
nothing.
Of course.
There is nothing we can do. It's very difficult to make it thinner with a movement like this.
Yeah.
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 So describe your process of designing a new watch model. Where do you start? Do you start with an idea? Do you start with something else that somebody's done and you want to tweak something? Uh, Just if you can describe that whole process for us.
Yeah. Okay. So for that, I will show you one that I have here. This is the upcoming jumping hour, which is a different concept from a jumping hour. So this is the ovni. The
What?
ovni means UFO, uh, and the UFO it's it has a
Wow.
construction that no one has ever tried before. This
That
is
is
a
so
dummy.
unique.
It's a dummy. There is no movement inside yet because we had to change. I will explain
Yeah.
everything about this. But basically, one of my favorite brands is Hurwerk. They have the most amazing complications based in 1600s and 1700s, and then they have increased the difficulty. They have created miniatures of it, so they have some very amazing designs. And one of the designs that I most like, um, um, I, I can't do it because it's done. I can't copy it. I don't want to make an evolution of their designs. It's their market. It's their area.
For
I
sure.
will never be able to reach what they do, and I don't want to. We have our own space. I can do our own stuff. But one of the difficulties was to make this case without looking a woodwork or without looking an original icopod, for example, because of the round shapes. So we had to go a bit far from what people have been doing. And I wanted to make a second jumping hour because we were so successful with the first one. But what's happening here is the following. So we have a crystal that is like a donut. So this is an independent part from the rest of the case. We have a dome, a metal dome that in the future will be able to hand decorate or to decorate the way we want to make it different approaches to this. We have a crown at 12 o'clock to make it slightly more fluid in terms of the design. Uh,
Right.
the base for the design is the Jupiter 2, the spaceship from Lost in Space.
Okay.
This is the original shape of the Jupiter 2 with a few tweaks. But even the legs or the lugs are quite similar to the approach. But then, for
Man.
uh, copyright reason, etc., we cannot make a collage, a direct collage with that, and we don't want because we have evolved. And
Yeah.
in Portuguese, because I'm originally from Portugal, in Portuguese, UFO we say ovni, which means exactly the same as UFO. So I like the shape because it looks like an O, So O ovni. Okay, so everything matches. And in the back we have um, a cool design of
Looks
the
like you're
ovni over
getting beamed
here.
up, right?
Exactly, it's beaming
Getting
up
beamed
for
up. Yep.
movement. Yeah, that
Beam
is
me
the
up,
idea.
Scotty.
And what is mad about this also, there are a few complications here. So one is the font. So we redesigned the font inspired on the Star Wars. Um,
I love that.
but
I didn't pick that up until now.
it's very difficult. It's
Yeah,
yeah. So this is the 12,
that's
and the
so cool.
12 it's at 12 o'clock. Okay, but now and what you see here, it's a hand. It's
So
the
it's an
minute hand.
aperture. It's an aperture, and then once it changes, the aperture is just going to change to the one, and then you've got your little minute track that's circling around
Hmm.
the
Exactly.
center.
Exactly. That's
Sick.
so what it jumps. It's the dial and not the hour.
Yeah.
That is
Okay,
Yeah,
so
man.
so
cool.
there is one watch only in the history of watchmaking that did that. One brand only. I will not tell which one it was.
Okay.
People can look for it.
Sure. It's about
But
you,
I
man.
didn't know. But when I created this one, and when I have this, um, I don't know, this mental orgasm about this, I didn't know that any other brand had done already before.
Yeah.
Which is sad because when I showed this to one of our um, friends, he's a journalist, he knows everything about watchmaking, and he told me, "Oh, there is a brand that they did that about 10 years ago." I said, "Really? Oh, that's annoying." Because I wanted to
Not,
be the first one, but
I, I, I know which brand you're talking about, and the execution is totally different.
I
it's very
agree.
different. It's very,
Very
very
different.
different.
Same
It's a
concept.
different approach. Yes,
Yeah.
because they have a transparent dial. They show the mechanics. The hour
Right.
rotates the same way. It's a different approach.
Yeah.
It's like it's a very traditional approach.
For sure.
Whilst ours, it's not traditional
No.
in any way. This
Nothing
case is
traditional.
38 millimeters,
So it's
and
wearable.
we'll also have the same one with 44 millimeters.
Oh, okay.
So exactly the same watch, but in two sizes because the lugs are under the case, so
Yeah.
the watch fits really. It wears really um, small.
Yeah.
So this one will be for slender wrists, and the 44, which is usually uh, a huge watch when you talk about the 44 millimeters
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
watch. It's a normal. It's smaller than this one because
So
it's
it's gonna wear like a
44.
40.
Exactly. That's exactly that. So it will
Amazing.
be. This is not going to be the bracelet. The bracelet it will be rubber, also specific for the watch. Uh, and this is being tested. So the reason why we don't have a movement here, it's because um, we had a Landeron 24. We develop our own model so it can fit in this case and it can
Yeah.
rotate the dial instead of rotating the
Secondhand.
the
Yeah.
the disc the hour
Oh,
disc
okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry.
because to rotate the hour disc we have a few options in the market, but to rotate the dial there was no option at all. So we are developing it ourselves, and that's one of the examples of being a proprietary development for us, for example, because I created the concept, they know how to execute it. Good. So that's why we get together so well.
So,
And
so it's safe to say that you take a lot of inspiration from like modern culture when you're developing these watches, because you said this one was
yeah,
from Lost in
exactly,
Space.
exactly.
I
And
I love how everything's either like space related or like the scientific table you know, like
Periodic table.
everything
Yeah.
has yeah, periodic table.
Yes, and this
Everything
one,
has a
for
rhyme and a reason
example,
for it.
have you ever read the Incal? The Incal, it's a uh, it's a book written by Jodorowsky and Alexander Jodorowsky, and the illustrations are made by Moebius, a French guy. Um, so they get together. They had some speeds and probably other stuff, and they wrote a book like this with all the designs, etc., in a week or so.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
madness. It's madness. You should read that. It's called the Incal. And
Inkle.
on the Incal, which is a uh, science fiction history that it's now, I think, it's being adapted, finally being adapted for an animation film by, oh, what's the name of the director? Tamikiki. You know, it's a very good guy. I
Yeah.
forgot his name.
I'm not
Uh,
plugged in with cinema like that.
oh, he is amazing. And I think he's now making the animation of
Like
that.
Taika Waititi.
Yeah, that's the one. That's him.
Yep. New Zealand.
Exactly.
He's
That's the guy.
hilarious.
let's
He's very
um
good. And
let's talk about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, just to finish. So if you read that book, you will find elements that help me find the solutions for these some of these details.
Yeah. Okay.
That's retro engineering. So it's a science fiction history in the future, but using elements from the 70s.
I
And
Got
love
it.
that.
that kind of design is that's where I am. You know, that I love it. So that's why we have these as well.
Yeah.
And that's why the rectangular design is going to blow everyone's mind because it's
You're
completely different from everything else.
you're
But
um
at
you're
the
in
same time, we draw the line to make it usable, to make it comfortable,
wearable.
okay?
Yeah.
Wearable, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there is no point for me to make watches with 20 of
Yeah. Yeah.
height and I want people to wear it on a daily basis. That's
Of
why they
course.
are also affordable. That's
Yeah.
the idea.
There's no point in making watches people can't wear.
That's right.
Um.
Exactly.
Something that segues right perfectly into our next question here. Obviously, your brand Isotope, and you have fun with elements, right? That's your sandbox. That's your playground. Um, what materials and technologies are you most excited about incorporating into your watches? Like, is there any materials that you guys are working with that you just haven't figured out yet, or any other complications that maybe you feel like people haven't brought out yet? I mean, obviously, don't disclose anything that somebody would steal from you, but I'm sure you're having fun with materials that we don't know about. And if so, would you disclose what those are? Um, or even some of the complications
Yeah,
you guys
no,
are.
we have complications. I will not. We are making um, a few models that I will not tell
Of
what they
course.
are because
Yeah.
otherwise it will
We
just
don't.
open the game.
No. Yeah. We don't want anybody to
Uh,
steal your sauce here.
no, it's fine, but I think it's even more fun if I don't talk about them, and in the future people see what, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is
For
cool,
sure.
this is new. But in terms of materials, we tried a few things in terms of new steels, in terms of uh, new components. But the problem is most of those components are being used in new movements to make them lighter, to make them more accurate, to make them more resistant, etc. And the problem with those is that when you transport new materials for a watch case, people don't like it.
Yeah.
People don't buy them. Um, or some will buy them, for example. But for example, we have an experience of making a bronze watch or a bronze case, and using it using the same components that Panerai is using, for example, for the case, which is very high quality bronze. It's exactly the same material, but even though even the quality that we have on that case, people don't really appreciate it. People prefer steel or titanium or
Bron-
white gold.
Bronze is an acquired taste because, of course, it patinas. You have to take care of
Yeah,
it. I mean, it comes with care. Unlike steel, you just boom, done, whatever, right?
exactly. And it's so we have um, created a case with a very specific component, but in the end, it looked like plastic. Eh, People wouldn't like that. Too light, too different. So even
Carbon? Is that
for
what you're talking about?
dials, sorry.
You're talking about carbon?
Uh, yes, it was similar to carbon, but mixed with other products.
Got it.
Um, but I'm very, although we have this crazy stuff, I'm very
Yeah.
traditionalist, and I prefer to
Just steel.
be very, I prefer to use materials that we know that people will enjoy them
For sure.
because they
For
are
sure.
simple, because they are not um, um, fashionable. Okay, you don't use it because it's cool to use it for a year or so, and then you just drop it. For example, I try to make a dial with that paint that is very very dark, very black. Uh,
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
but we weren't able because they didn't like the design that we showed them, so we are not using that. It's Venton black.
Yeah.
We are not using it. Moser is using that same paint
Yeah.
um, because I think it's amazing. I think it's beautiful. There are
It,
other options, but I think that if we want to make a black, a deep black dial, it needs to be with the original color. You know, if we
that
use
makes
a
sense.
secondary option, it's another one. It doesn't make sense. Um, I don't like meteorite dials, for example. I
Really?
don't like stone dials. I don't. I will probably will like them in the future. I just didn't find the right way to make them.
Yeah.
Uh,
People,
at least for my taste,
yeah.
for the way I see watches. But there are a few, obviously. For example, Christopher Ward made one in Aventurine. I think it's called
Yep.
Aventurine.
Aventurine. Yep.
Uh, it's beautiful. The
Moon
freaking
phase.
watch is beautiful, and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I I would use that one. And it's not very common for me to say, I know that I would use another watch from another brand, but I would use that one because it's. I saw the watch for the first time in New York, and it's beautiful. It's really
Aventurine
well done.
is becoming more common in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Like you see brands like Omega using
Yeah,
Aventurine as well. Um, I mean,
exactly.
it's
Yep.
not too challenging to work with because it's also a synthetic material, so it's manufactured.
Yeah,
Um,
but it looks amazing. You know,
yeah,
it's
it's
It
beautiful
does.
because,
yeah.
and I think
It
people respond. I
captures
think,
all the light. You know, it's really
yes,
Hmm.
it just
it's
beams
out
The
it.
there. It's cool.
sparkles and
Yeah,
the deepness.
I
exactly.
think
It's
I think
beautiful.
what people like about Aventurine, what we just talked about meteorite, is every single dial will be a different.
Unique.
Yes,
Yeah,
unique, right? Like
exactly.
meteorite, like you cut it and then you produce the dial and then you sand it and you polish it or whatever. Um, everybody's getting a unique watch to them,
Yeah,
right?
that's it exactly.
And and the
But
same.
meteorite, for example, no, um,
Well,
there's something
that's
missing there.
that's
I
that's
think
the
that
thing.
you need to build such a specific case to wear a meteorite dial. I can't. There are lots of divers with meteorite dials. They don't make sense to me. They don't
Yeah,
match.
it's not.
It's not there. I'm trying to enjoy, and there are a few brands that are making them, and the cases are fantastic. They are brilliant, but then they apply the freaking material dial there, and it
And it
doesn't
doesn't
match.
match.
No, it's
I,
not. It
Yep.
doesn't. No,
so,
don't
since
do
we're
that.
since we're talking about meteorite, and this is just a baby transition, and I know we've got a very guided follow up question for you. Um, Obviously, you did a watch and you use NASA
Yeah,
branding.
exactly.
So what was that like? I'm assuming you probably had to file, to make an application to use their branding or
Yes.
anything, or
So
how did that
it's
transpire?
uh, about 2 years ago or more, I wanted to make a NASA watch, and I start the process for certification, which is impossible at
Yeah,
the moment. For what I could understand, only Omega have certification due to historical
yeah, yep.
approach, and yes, although Omega just did a dial with a small rocket on it, which I think it's hilarious, but that's fine.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
uh, and then G-Shock from Casio, they also have certification, I think, because of technical um, principle. Uh,
Z-
and there are other brands that they collaborate in terms of design with um, with NASA. The questions I had were, will this watch comply if for any reason it needed to go to space? And
Okay.
the answer is yes. It's very easy. If an Omega can go to space, any diver watch,
Yeah, okay.
any diver watch, from me or for any other brand, as long as it can withstand 200 meters of waterproofness, will withstand the requirements to take the watch to space. It's basically, very simply, we can translate it this way. Because a diver watch with certification will withstand the waterproof that is necessary, the Gs that are necessary, the anti-corrosion that is necessary, etc., etc. So that was the principle, the initial questions. The second questions were in terms of design, because I wanted to make it white. Uh, and funny enough, our logo, which is the droplets,
Yeah.
in the old days, or a few years back, there were no doors on the spaceships. It was an ingot. It was something that they had to open and pull like that, and that's it. And that was to close. It was the same way. So the door had the shape of a water drop as well, which is cool. That's why we have it on the
Small
dial.
touch. Yeah.
It's our logo, but as out of curiosity, it's exactly the same as the door they used before. And then I always wanted to make a distressed watch in terms of design. And in the US, it's very common to uh, use Cerakote and the guns to make them whiter, to make them
Right.
like rough.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
rough. And that's what we try to do. So we created on the Idrium a distressed look. It looks like the case was or is part of the spaceship that got into the atmosphere and got burned. So every cases are finished by hand. They are all different from
Nice.
all of them. So we made 200, if I'm not wrong. They are all different because they are all finished by hand. And then in terms of the dial, it's the white dial, it's the white bezel with full lume also. But in that case, instead of C3, we use BGW9, which gives it a bluish
Blue.
It's
light.
like the moon color at night or something. It gives me that
Exactly.
vibe.
That's the idea. So, and then
That's cool.
I saw a few straps made by Nick Monkey, and I sent him an email. Listen, I'm making this watch. Will you be interested in making an NASA strap specific for the watch? And yes, he said, yes, I love the watch, so let's make it. So, it makes sense. A dial, a white dial, in that case, in terms
Yeah.
of design, in terms of resistance with that strap, I love it. It's
It,
a dream come true.
Um,
well
I'm
done.
Um,
curious. I'm curious, Jose, now that you kind of mentioned that and, collaborating with him, for the straps. And I know Blake had mentioned the question about NASA. Can you give us a description of, maybe a collaboration or a partnership that, significantly impacted your brand's journey up to this point?
yes, with second by far. We did that watch called uh, so our logo is Isotope, okay, and what he did, uh, he inverted, and instead of isotope, it became autopsy, and an autopsy because we were making an autopsy from the previous years of Isotope. We changed the logo, we upgraded the logo, and at the same time, he made that hand that looks like uh, the end of life. Uh,
Right.
the I don't know the name now, and so it's a memento mori watch without showing. Um, um, oh, what's the name for a skull without showing a skull? Okay, it's a
Okay.
memento mori without showing a skull, which is one of the first memento mori watches, if not the first one, that didn't use a skull to represent the memento mori um, design. And that one was impactful because it took 1.5 years to bring that one to life. We only made 50, unfortunately. They sold out in a few hours. And I wish
Well,
I had made more. And we will make other collaborations with him for sure. I wanted to make one in 2024 this year, but let's see if it's possible or not. But he is so bright, so intelligent, so fast. I don't understand how it's possible for him to make. Uh, how many did he make this year? 12, 13 collaborations last year?
wow.
Unbelievable. All of them brilliant. All of them different from. It's unbelievable. I love it. And that one showed me that, working with him showed me, don't be a smartass because he's better than you, and keep cool. It's important sometimes because sometimes we make a few cool designs and we think, yeah, no, it's crap,
Genius.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
because there is always someone doing really cool stuff.
Of course.
But for example, and this is interesting, when he started making those specific dials for very original dials for Rolex and for his own brand when he started upgrading vintage watches with his hands. Um, at the same time, we were creating the hand for the wheel return and other hands that then we didn't release because they were too similar to what he's doing, which is cool. But we start developing a few things at the same time, which is very, very interesting. But he became very famous when he did that first approach with Moser. It was
Oh
a
yeah.
rubber when Moser deleted the logo from their dials. That's what gave him, a different position in the market, obviously. But we had a few ideas, and we had to retract them because he was first showing them. So, but this collaboration with him, the autopsy, it was really, really eye-opening because it's fantastic to work with him. Yeah.
Amazing. Something that I've heard you kind of talk about, and it sounds like you have a lot of regrets in the brand. And it sounds like you regret that you haven't made more of a lot of your watches. And you're never gonna know when you release a watch how the market's gonna respond to it. But something
Yeah.
that might be interesting that we don't hear a lot of brands talk about is some of the challenges that you faced as a startup, as a brand, and maybe some of the things that you've worked to overcome. Do
Yeah.
you have anything you can give us there?
Yes, of course. It's very difficult when you are using your own money because until the pandemic, I was working as a studio manager of post-production studio, and I had a salary and I had my hobby. My hobby was to make a few cool watches, and okay, if I sell them, great. If I don't, no worries. I love them, so I will wear them. But when the pandemic came, I was lucky before because a month before the pandemic, I sold my shares in the company, and then the pandemic came, and everything closed down, etc. So I was at home. I was with money in the bank, so I decided to make um, uh, my plan B became my plan A. So that's when the company really grew, and that's
Took
when I
off.
really started,
Mhm.
yeah, investing in more designs. And it's complicated to have so many ideas, but I don't know how to if I do a scribble, it's horrible. It's horrible. Doesn't look good. So I was lucky to have during my years in the area to work with so many designers, with so many architects, uh, and I work with one guy since day one. He's my friend for I don't know 20 years or more, and he's a graphic designer and also a professor of 3D um, animation. So he is excellent in creating um, characters. He is excellent in creating animation. He is um, really, really good, and we have the same language. So in terms of transporting the designs to the paper and then from the paper to a 3D file and then make a 3D print out of it and then make it real, It's a very slow process, very, very, very slow.
I could imagine.
And we need to be very patient, and we need uh, to make many mistakes until we have something that is really, really good. And it, in the end, it's very expensive because if you don't get it right the first time, you need to do it again and again and again. And sometimes you make it perfect, but it took so long to make it that when it's time to release it, someone else will release it with something similar. I have a
And
few
you're
prototypes, but they will never see the light because although they were made uh, before any other brand had a similar case or dial or hands, when it was time to release them, someone was already in the market with a similar product. So
if you're not first, you're last. That's a very
exactly.
famous
Ricky
So
saying, and
Ricky Bobby.
that's right.
so
If
we
you ain't
didn't
first, you're
release
last.
them. So we didn't
Sorry.
um,
release some of them. But in terms of company, in terms of what we try to make in terms um, of investment, for example, at the moment it's very difficult because, as I explained, a diver watch requires a specific case. A
Right.
dress watch requires a specific case. A chronograph, the same, etc., etc., etc. We don't have a case that we can, with some tweaks, adapt for a pilot or for a field watch or for a dress watch or for something else. We create a specific case for each situation, and that's very expensive. That's bad engineering. I'm aware of that. I know that, for example, I have a small fortune invested in stock. Some of that stock I will never be able to recover because I can't use them. But some stock I will be able to refurbish to do some stuff in the future. But the money I have stopped there is dangerous for a small
Yeah.
company like ours, and that's
mhm.
something that is very scary. That's something that is very
Yeah.
scary.
Oh,
And for example, when we create a new color code or a new design or a new approach, I don't know how the market will react. If we don't sell that, it's a big blow for such a small company like ours. So it's scary. Every day it's scary. Every day it's a new day. Uh, we could try to make a traditional watch approach, and but we will be another one. And there are so many good things at the moment. There are so many brands doing amazing, amazing stuff, and that is something that I comment with a friend in New York when I was at the One and One watch
Right.
fair. We were showing our watches there, and on the second day, before the fair opened, I went for a walk to see what the other guys were doing,
Yeah.
and I realized, what the fuck am I doing here, man? It's so difficult because there are so many brands doing so amazing stuff. They are doing amazing designs. The quality is just brilliant. So it's for me an honor to be able to compete with them in the same market and to sell watches the same way they are selling uh, because it's really, really, really highly competitive at the moment. It's very difficult.
And
And every day we see a new brand coming up and a new brand and a new brand and a new Kickstarter, etc.,
yeah.
etc. And when I see them selling watches for £300 or $300 or 400, I tell people buy them, because they are not making money with them. They are not making money. So if they are offering you the watch, just buy them. You know, because there are a few amazing things out there, and they are asking a ridiculous price for it, which is people should just buy them all, because that is going to end,
Oh yeah.
because they are going down, because it's impossible to sell watches for $300 or similar. It's impossible. It's
It sa-
impossible.
it sounds like you have a lot of business sense, and you consider the business a huge priority versus a lot of micro brands approach is just, hey, like our number one priority should be just to get the watches out there, right? To get them on people's
Yeah.
wrists and whatever cost, right? So I'd be curious to know if you're willing to plug some of the brands that you're impressed with that you've seen. Some come to mind for me, but I'm curious to see what brands you're impressed by
Uh,
within some of those price segments. If you're
yes, I
willing
can
to,
tell
if
you.
you're willing to say, so I don't want to put you on
Absolutely.
the
No,
spot.
that
Yeah,
that's I'm not afraid of competition, and most of them are my friends. We talk
I I would I would
between
argue
us.
I would argue that your brand is so unique in the sense that nobody's doing what you're doing, so you have a unique customer because we all technically, well, all watch brands technically share a very small customer base, but
Yes.
who's buying your watch is not going to be the same person who just wants another vintage style diver's watch, you know.
Yeah, yeah, but we can see now that some brands are starting to use the the discs. Some brands are starting to use the whites, the blues, and the reds the way we use.
Right.
Some brands are uh, probably inspired by the same things that we got inspiration from.
Maybe.
I'm not saying they are inspired from what we are doing, but they are
Right.
going to the same roots that we used to get that inspiration. But we did that 3 years ago. So now we see some common ideas in other brands that it's fine. Even some watches will have the same name very soon, and I know that. And that somehow makes me sad, because it takes so much time to find a name for a watch. It takes about, at least to me, it takes from 3 to 6 months to find a name for a watch. It's not, no, I could simply call it Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, period, and that's it, which is fine. For example, Underdog is doing it, and it works perfectly.
Hmm.
And the dog, they are not the underdog anymore, because the things they are doing,
they've they've been
it's
blown up
amazing.
recently. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fantastic, and it makes sense what he's doing. Richard is an amazing designer. It's doing an amazing job, and he created a cult brand in 3 years, which is something. I think I've never seen that with any other brand. It's unbelievable. It's fantastic. It's
Oh yeah.
A few
genius,
What
a few
I was gonna
podcast
say,
ep-
what? Go ahead.
a few podcast episodes that we just had back. Obviously, if you're listening to this publicly now, we Ferlin Mari was just on, and I mean
exactly,
it's a great brand. I mean, three years in production, and he's already got a GPHG award. It's just like,
exactly.
and I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
but
seeing him in
for
Geneva.
example,
He's a good guy.
yes, we were nominated for GPHG, but we didn't won with the Will Return, because it was so original, so different
Yeah.
when it came out. With this year, we will compete with at least two watches,
Sorry, what was
and
the watch?
yeah, yes,
With
because
two
it's
watches.
Okay, two watches.
yes, I will take this one, because this is a true moonshot. No one has ever done nothing like this in terms of um, chronograph. and this one as well. Why not?
The two
You
that
know, because
showed.
this is so crazy. You know, let's see what happens.
It's
Yeah.
so
I
small
know
compared to the
I'm
moonshot.
it's different. It's so yes, but the 44 will get there. No, it's
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
but for example, oh, I forgot the name. I love the what the I forgot their name. It's so sad. I'm sorry. I'm terrible for
That's okay.
names, but very good for faces. uh, but Nevada, Nevada Greenfield.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, they are doing some amazing stuff.
I think so
They are
too.
doing some amazing stuff. And
With their data
the
masters and
one,
stuff like that.
yeah, the one they released with 36 millimeters, I think, then Antarctica or something like that. I saw it in New York as well. Up, I love it.
Yeah,
It's
they're
really,
beautiful
really.
watches.
No, I think it's 34, not 36. I think it's a really small one. It's brilliant, you know, and so I will say Underdog Studios, very good. I will say Nevada, excellent work there, what they are doing as well. Um, and I can see others. I don't remember the brands,
That's okay.
Yeah,
That's
that's
okay.
but
fine. I'll
I assure you, they are different. They are
Yeah.
quirky. They are different from everything else. They are because if they look like everything else, I don't even look at them because I don't have time to lose.
Sure. That makes
It's
sense.
so
true, you know. It's true. It's ridiculous. You know what we see from uh, some brands. Why do they do that? You know, just think a little
yeah.
bit more and do something
An-
really different.
Another retro diver from another brand.
Exactly, probably.
I'll I'll switch his gears for a second, Jose. And I know that we've obviously talked about, watches to look out for from you guys. But are there any more upcoming releases or, innovations that set you apart from the crowd that we can be on the lookout for?
Innovations, apart from the model that we are doing this one.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
what one of the things that we try to do is when the design is ready, the watch is ready. Okay, like this is, for example, what happened with this chronograph. It was ready, and then in that same year that our chronograph was ready, we could see 70 releases of um, chronographs, all of them inspired in the same chronographs, all of them, with different colors, but the same case, the same pushers, the same approach. And I said, okay, so we are not going to be the 71st release of a typical chronograph, and that's why we made total new approach to get to this result. And even then, when it was ready, I said, what if we cover the dial, we make a plain dial, and we only discover what needs to be seen when people press the push buttons. So we added the dials on top of it. And to add the dials, the discs on top of the sub dials, to do that, it took 6 months to find the right torque on the dial, on the movement, to be able to support the weight of the subdials discs, because they usually have one hand which is as heavy as
Right.
a
Yeah.
hair,
Yeah.
but the discs, they are heavier. They are
Yeah, for
heavy.
sure.
So, and when you fit them, the axle, they bend, and if they bend, that's it. You need to you need a new. I wouldn't say new movement, but almost you need to
Stem,
restart again the
yeah.
process.
Twist the stem.
So that's very different. That's very difficult. That is an innovation, is to use an existing movement, but adapt it in a way that you can add something new, a
Are
new interpretation
are
of
you able are you
how
able
to
to tell
use
us
the movement.
about the price here? So I literally just I have the website up. Of course, I'm flipping through stuff and coming up with ideas to talk about.
This one,
But yeah, are you able to tell us the price about the Moonshot? Because I
the,
know you guys have a coming soon page, and you have a little video. And guys, I
yeah,
mean, I can link this in the podcast description. It's an amazing little render, but and the dial just doesn't do it justice. I'm assuming you got to see it in real life to experience it. But um, any possible expectations on where that's going to be sitting at in the
around
pricing segment?
$3,000 more or less.
Okay, yeah,
Around
fair enough.
$3,000.
Fair enough.
On the release, for example, we will also do something that I think it will more interesting than only making 100 or 150. We are going to open a window of time. Uh, I don't know, one day, 1 week. We didn't discuss that. And during that period, you can buy the watch, and that's it. The
Got
stealth
it.
version, it will
Oh,
only be made for Revolution during that period, and that's it. If we make 50, we make 50. If we make 1,000, we will make 1,000. Then in the summer, we will have the Terra Maris version, which is the one with brown and blue. With Terra Maris, mean Terra it's earth, Maris it's ocean, and it's the mixing of the two elements that create the planet Earth. And the watch will represent that with the tones of bluish and brown. That will come in the summer. That will also be a limited edition. But then we will release a panda version. The panda version will stay in the collection.
nice.
It will be
Nice.
probably the first one that will not be limited. It will be a constant presence in our collection. Um, but in terms of new releases, so the first releases will be new hydrions, two new hydrions with a metal bracelet. The metal bracelet, I promised it will be ready last May. Then I promised for September. Then I promised for November. And now it's January. Yes,
Can't
very, very difficult to make them because the case
Perfection
it's
takes
un
time.
definitely.
it's not only perfection, it's the freaking finish because the case is sandblasted. And to have a
Need to match.
uh, uh, a bracelet, a sandblasted bracelet, you use it 1 day and it's scratched. That's it, it's done. So we had to find a way to make it sandblasted to match the case, obviously,
Yeah.
and they will retrofit all the items that we sold before this one. So it will
Consistent.
be sold separately from
Yeah.
from 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 the case. So we had to find a way to make them with that. There is a spray or something like that, a sort of a bath that you give to the metal that it will become hardened
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it will not scratch. But that was changing the color. So when
Yeah.
we tried to match the color, it wouldn't fit the cases that we have done in the past. So it's a very complex way of making it perfect that will have a longevity that is interesting. At least we hope at least 1 year without big scratches.
Yeah.
Then it will obviously start to wear. Um, so those will be the the, the first releases. I'm waiting for the bracelets at any moment, but I don't know when anymore. So
For sure.
I will not say
Understand.
another date. Then we will have the chronograph. Then we will have the Mercury. Then we will have in between probably uh, four new Idriums. Very interesting. Some beautiful watches. Then we will have another Mercury, but with a brushed dial, which is
Nice.
I'm in love with it. It's
Give it some
beautiful.
texture.
Yes, it's unbelievably beautiful. It's amazing. Then we have another release. It will be the Guto 2.0. So a few years ago, we had the Guto, which was our first diver. Now we have a proprietary mechanism for the inner bezel. We have better dimensions. We have a better movement. We have better everything, basically. And it will be the Guto 2.0. We will release it for summer, hopefully. Then we have a 36 millimeter watch uh, that is absolutely genius. It's it's a small watch, but so beautiful with a crystal like looks like a Pringle. So the crystal is not flat or concave. It's so
Wow.
it's very different. It's beautiful. I will share renders in a few days or weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
Very cool.
prototype is
Can't
done.
wait.
It's a working prototype now, so we know that it works. And then we'll have the jumping hour as soon as the movement and the model is working as I want it to. Then we will have a rectangular watch using a new movement from Landeron as well. And for early next year or mid next year, we will have our first integrated bracelet watch. And I haven't done it until now because I like to wear my own straps. I like people to wear their own straps as well.
Yeah, of course.
And with an integrated bracelet, you can't do that. You are,
Hmm.
subject to what we can offer you. So let's see if people like that one as well. We start creating it about 6 months ago, and we already have one line, which is good. It's a good principle.
Nice. Can't wait
But yeah,
to see.
it's so in between we will have a few versions of the Gutdo. We'll have a few versions of the Idrium, and if the 36 millimeters goes, it's called the flyway because it looks like the wings of birds that
Yeah.
are flying, which is really cool. If it goes as planned, um, um, I think it will be a huge success, not only for Ben, but for slender wrists as well. But
Wow.
there is one that I can talk about, one
Sure.
model that we are making that is going to be very, very high end. That is another step for us. And we are going to start using tritium in some of our watches. Uh, the problem is that we are using tritium like no one has ever used it before. So it's going to be fun
So you're
to
not
see.
tritium tubes? No, no go.
I will not tell you.
Okay. All right.
He's full of secrets,
uh,
man. You're testing him.
I know. He wants my
I
wrist
can
to fall
tell
off too.
if I tell you how it will
Of
become obvious.
course.
So
Yeah, we
I will not
like
tell you. But it's I showed it to the watch to my engineer last week, and he said, "Oh, man, why don't you do simple things?"
You better get that
So,
patent pending.
Yeah. He just wants to make vintage divers, man. Leave him alone.
no, it's curious. It's going to be really fun to see how people react to that. Let's see.
We always like to end the podcast, and we've taken so much of your time, and we're humbled to have you
Oh, my
here.
pleasure.
We always like to ask, and you've given us a hint into this year what to expect, but how do you envision the next decade from the isotope perspective? And I'm sure you have some milestones that you want to check off. Uh,
Yes.
for the brand. Give us a little bit of insight there, and then we'll say our goodbyes.
Yeah. So, when I created the brand, it was to be a one-off. I started with a very difficult watch to make, the jumping hour, and
Right.
I have, as I told you before, I have two brands that are I I love them. It's one is Urwerk, one another one is MBNF. Um, the stuff they do, it's very high end. They are pioneers in making the designs that I really love. They they tell me something, and they were able financially to uh, put something very expensive to make inside of them. I can't do that yet, but that's where I want to be in the next years. I want to get there, and I'm not sure if I will be able to make it in the next 10 years. I hope so. Uh, I
We
want
hope
to
so too.
make it. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
want to make it under the same name, but you will start to see some differences on what we do. For example, uh, on the watches that we signed the name Isotope, they have a price range. Then we have another watches that they don't say Isotope on the dial; they only have the droplet. And then there are other watches like this one; they say Isotope and they have the droplet. So we have within the same brand three level of watches being made that will probably address different price points. Uh, what I will try to make is to explore within the same umbrella, the same brand, three different levels of watchmaking, and then a fourth. And when I get to the fourth, I will be happy. Let's see.
Any ideas what you're going to call that fourth segment?
It will be Isotope as well.
Okay.
It will be Isotope as well. I don't feel comfortable in using my name on the watches because I'm not a watchmaker. I
Yeah,
think
of
that
course.
if you are a watchmaker, you can build if you build your own movement. Yeah, okay, makes sense to sign with your name. But if it's just okay, a design approach or a company, because I manage the company, I manage the design, I manage many other stuff, obviously, but I don't make the movements with my hands, and I don't think it's elegant to sign a watch
No,
without
yeah.
with your name if you're using someone else's movements. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens because I think um, I'm on a good path to get there. But under the same umbrella, probably with another name after my name. But let's see how things go.
Well, hopefully in that decade we'll communicate before then, but hopefully
Absolutely.
we'll revisit this podcast in a decade and see where we're at, and we might even be laughing, looking back and be like, wow, this is obviously you've been doing watches for a while, um but maybe we'll be shocked by where how far you've progressed, and I'm
Let's
sure
hope so.
certainly rooting for you. I'm certainly rooting for you, and I think I could speak for my audience and me personally, and some of the people that I know that listen to our podcast that I communicate pretty regularly with. That we're all huge fans of what you're doing, and we had put and funny enough, we had put out some messages about like what brands people want to see next, like to bring on. Um, and you were actually, ironically, the most voted brand to
Oh,
come on.
amazing. Thank you. I had no idea.
We were saving
I
that. We
had
were
no.
saving that juice for later, but no,
Oh,
we
thank you.
literally had a huge amount of people that begged us to bring you on. Um, so there's a lot of people out there that are paying attention to what you're doing, and there's, like I said, within my watch community and within the groups that I communicate with, everybody's been looking forward to hearing what you had to say, and you just gave it to us.
Oh,
So
fantastic. No, fantastic. Thank you all so much. Without you guys, this doesn't exist. So, it's if if one thing is sure, I wouldn't make a watch. I wouldn't be able to wear it myself. And if there are so many people out there enjoying what we are doing and buying them, I am, I thank you. No, that's incredible. That's incredible.
that's what it's all about. It's all about giving back, and that's a part of our mission here. At Lonely Risk to give people content that maybe they won't see elsewhere, and to give a new perspective on brands and purchasing watches, or maybe even just the journey, right? We talk a lot about the journey of collecting watches, more in not as much like hey, here's a press release from a brand, like we just
Yeah,
repackaging a press release and doing review videos. Like we really like to get our hands on watches. We really like to talk about the long term wearability, because a lot of times people get watches in and they'll just drop a press release and say this is a great watch, but it's like you don't understand how this watch impacts your life when you have it for a week,
yeah.
unfortunately. Um, so yeah, we have a
Let me
synergy
tell
together.
you, I have lots of watches, as you can imagine,
Of
and
course.
this one, I start wearing this one in November. That's it. I trust me.
One and done. One and
I
done.
get scared. Yeah. Sometimes I'm because I pick the others, and I tell myself I need to use this one. I need to show this one. But in the end of the day, it's this one that comes again to my wrist. It's unbelievable. It's really. You will see. You will have the opportunity to have one in your wrist or more than one, and you will see
Amazing.
what I'm saying. It's
It
yeah,
that's
it's good.
the hardest thing that I face I'm a filmmaker. Justin's a photographer, and we're watch nerds. I come from marketing, and that's the hardest thing that I face, and I know Justin faces it. Is once you get a watch in your hands, it's really hard to convey that through imagery,
Yeah,
through video. Like, obviously you can use the best macro lens that you have, but it's still
It's
once
not
you have
palpable.
yeah,
yeah,
once you have a quality watch in your hands and on your wrist, that feeling cannot be simulated virtually, right?
exactly,
So
exactly,
yeah, we understand, and we're looking forward to that opportunity to get hands
absolutely.
on with some of
We
your
need to do
pieces.
that for
So
sure.
all right, guys, so we're just gonna wrap up
All
here.
right.
We have spent an hour and almost 40 minutes with Jose from Isotope, and
Whoa, that was fast.
yeah, I mean, it goes by when you're having fun,
Yeah,
right? I mean, we could sit here and talk for more hours, but hopefully, you guys understand the journey of Isotope and understand the direction of Jose that is leading this brand into being such a unique force in the industry. And we want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening, and for those of you that hung on this long. Amazing. Obviously, we're gonna link Isotope if you haven't heard of them already, and I'm sure you have. And yeah, anything else you want to add to that, Jose?
Uh, Thank you so much. You know, this opportunity is really, really amazing, and you know it was a very good chat. I think it was very.
Amazing.
I tried to expose as much as possible what we do,
Of course.
and thank you so much for the invitation. You know, and
We're glad
let's
to have
meet
you here.
in person one of these
We
days
appreciate you.
because I think it will be really fun to meet you guys in person. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, we're all about it. I travel quite a lot. Now I'm starting to, and so yeah, we're at a place right now where we're able to travel across the country and to other side of the world to start working on content. And that's what we're doing. So this time tomorrow, I'll be in Geneva working on content with 5 watch brands. I'm not gonna say who it is yet, but let's just say they make some of the best watches in the world. Let's just say that. So,
Fantastic.
all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate everybody who made it this far, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks,
See you.
everyone. Thanks, Jose.
Thank you.